Welcome back to the Norse Benchwarmers podcast. I'm your host, Colton Smith, here joined by producer Josh Northcutt, co-host Alex Perez, and director Garrett Jordan. Fellas, this episode is brought to you by The Northerner, and we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Also, shout out Garrett for having the camera on him this time.
That was good.
We're so back.
I was rewatching that with my dad, and I stepped out of the room. I was like, "Why are we laughing so hard?" Then I went back and realized why. that was top 5 moment maybe in Norse Benchwarmers history. But anyways, we're having some good moments in NKU basketball, women's basketball specifically. They got an 82-79 win at IUND, 22 points from Hallie Iduwu. And then we got probably the biggest win of the Jeff Hands era to this point, a 72-69 victory over the Cleveland State Vikings, 27 points off the bench, 15 of those coming from COLLOSAL Lacey. I know you guys were there for that game, so tell me about this week. Great week.
Go ahead, Alex.
We'll start with IUND, led by most of the first half by double digits. NKU out-rebounded them by 11 and had 16 more paint points. Again, Iduwu with 23. But the big thing was Anna Hamilton with 11, tied for a season high, and won Horizon League Freshman of the Week. And then Kamora Morgan, who had hit a freshman wall, I would say, got right back with 14, so that was good. But as you said, the big win was against Cleveland State. A 3-point win, holding Destiny Leo, a former Horizon League Player of the Year, might I add, to 9 points on 8 shots. Great defense from COLLOSAL Lacey, but especially Noelle Hubert, who I will admit I was not expecting that from. She was lights out on the defensive end. Great job double-teaming Reisma in the paint. I know Hands went into that game expecting to do that, and they executed that well. And then, again, Lacey's big threes and hit a program record 16 threes in that one.
I'm going to say, as you were talking, I'm pretty sure Lacey hit another three. Yeah. They literally could not miss from the outside. Shot over 50% from three-point land. And two individuals who were on the play-by-play via the Northerner also on YouTube, I guess one of them mentioned that if NKU was going to be able to win the game, they have to hit the threes. Not tooting my own horn, but just say it.
Wait, Garrett, I didn't know you did work for the Northerner.
Yeah, I didn't know either. News to me.
But yeah, no, unbelievable game. I'll be the first to admit this. Women's basketball hasn't always been my thing. I'm the new stereotypical male coming into it because of the Caitlin Clark excitement and then getting to call these games. But with about 5 minutes to go in the game, NKU was battling back where they ended up outscoring Cleveland State 23-11 in the fourth.
Wow.
We had a 5-minute timeout, and I turned to Alex and I was like, I never thought I'd be this nervous and this excited for a women's basketball game. But they just kept you on the edge of the seat, and just to watch the production and the team get better and better each game, it was really, 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 really cool to see them pick up this win.
Yeah, and I just think the added, prestige of Cleveland State. I mean, that's been one of the best teams in the Horizon League for as long as I've been following the Horizon League, and probably before that as well. So just having that added, this is such a statement win, and who knows, in a couple years, could it be viewed as the changing of the guard in the Horizon League?
We were talking about it on the call, and it was their coach has a very similar build of Coach Ann. He won at the Division III level, he won at the Division II level, and then he came to Cleveland State, and he's got 20-plus wins 5 of the last 6 years. The only year he didn't do it was because of COVID. I think they only won 14 that year. So it's one of those things that, I won't say passing a guard, but it could be a program builder where Coach Hand can go up to some of these top players who are hitting the portal from bigger schools and be like, look, this is what I was able to do with this. Why don't you come here and we can go even higher and take NKU to where they were at the Division II level.
Yeah. It's when Hands first came in, there was maybe sort of a thought that he would just flip the script right away, and it wasn't that easy. But we're really seeing him right the ship here, and it's very nice to see. But let's move along to men's basketball. Also, I did want to mention that they are currently 4th in conference. They're 7-8, but 4th in conference right now. So I mean,
which is key.
That's
a home game.
I'd say that's a home field advantage or home court advantage. So shout out to them. Men's basketball also got a huge home win against Cleveland State. I guess we're just the Cleveland State Killers now. 85-75. And, hey, 40 points in the paint from the Norse. I didn't think I'd be seeing that. 26 points also came from Dan Goretzker, who has been kind of the catalyst for that little resurgence. But they followed that up with a tough 81-76 loss to a good Robert Morris team. And I think really the biggest reason they lost this game, Alvaro Folgueras,
Fulgaris, I think.
Fulgaris dropped 35 on their head. If you hold him to a season average or even 5 above, you win by about 20. So I think that just guarding that guy is really the difference of this game. But definitely, I would say a positive direction from where we were last time we were talking.
For sure. I would say Cleveland State was a huge win. Nobody out Vikings the Norse, so it's a good win there. I honestly think it was the most impressive win in the men's basketball season. They only had 8 turnovers, which they've struggled with a little bit, and they forced 9 steals. I mean, they've always been good at that, but it's good to see that they forced more turnovers than they had, and just an all-around great win. And then Robert Morris, that was just tough, and it's just hard to bounce back again after that. Luckily, we have a favorable matchup in the next one. But watching somebody drop 35 on homecoming on your court, it's a little tough to see.
Yeah, you hate to see it. But, Josh, you see anything from that?
It was a letdown game, I guess is the best way to play it. But it's not one you would expect for NKU. That's a game that normally Horn and the boys win. So, as you mentioned, it was disappointing to see. However, it's all about trying to right the ship and get to March and win those 4 games, right? That's the cliche saying.
It's usually three days in March.
3 days in March.
It's going to be 4 now.
It's going to be 4 days.
Yeah,
for these guys,
so now 4 days in March now. But as you mentioned, a very winnable game coming up. But it's also a tricky situation because they've lost 20 in a row now in Green Bay. They're due for a win. It's on the road. They can't slip up. So hopefully NKU can pull that out. And then after that, I believe they've got Milwaukee and then Wright State also on the road. So a little bit of a road trip before coming back home.
Yeah, and then for the women's, they have Robert Morris on Sunday, and they'll play Purdue-Fort Wayne on Thursday. So we're going to go ahead and get into some Super Bowl talk, just wrapping up here. I actually have a video I would like to play before we get into it, just kind of to set the mood here.
Of course.
Garrett, I'll let you take it away.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to absolutely torch that secondary. Nicely done.
Oh, it's not done yet.
Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to absolutely torch that secondary. I'm honestly terrified this game's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City Chiefs opposite way. I think they could very much just say, Barkley, here's 8 in the box. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, you're going to be out there on an island, and you have to make the plays. I'm honestly terrified.
The Vince Lombardi Trophy is headed to Philadelphia. Eagles fly in Super Bowl 59.
Now, don't expect that much effort.
Okay, I gotta say something first off. Before the show, I'd mention your creativity, sir. Standing ovation. That, you know what? I deserve that. All the crap I give you, I deserve that. That being said, though, I wasn't wrong. It was a repeat of the Buccaneers.
That was made with passion.
But I deserve that. That was fantastic. Go ahead and clip that.
I hope you know you sent me your halftime presser, and I was like, oh, I have to make a halftime presser. I should just do a little dig on Cooper DeJean. Then I was like, wait a minute. Let me cook here.
I mean, you cook, sir. I've got nothing. I mean, you literally just described the game perfectly. I don't have much else to say besides I mean, I still hit my parlay, so I came out on top. I don't care.
He's happy. But yeah, Alex, do you have anything you want to talk about that? Because you were the one that got everything right.
I was about to say, I don't want to pat myself on the back or anything, but I was the one who said if it's going to be a blowout, it's going to be because the Eagles are blowing them out. This offense was way too talented. 34-0 before Kansas City even could look up. Didn't get past midfield until 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
I mean, I've mentioned it could be a repeat of the Buccaneers and Chiefs game, and I thought it would be the opposite, obviously, as you just saw. Goddamn.
We can play it again.
No, we're good.
I can watch that all day.
But yeah, no, that being said, I don't think I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense look that bad. Absolute credit to Vic Fangio and the boys of that defense. Pure domination. And I'm going to throw it out there now already. I mean, it could be time to talk dynasty for the Eagles. They don't lose anyone. I have an article on that if you want to go look it up. But, yeah, no, I mean, they legit have everything to be able to repeat next year as long as, Hurts and A.J. Brown work out their ordeal, which I think they did just fine.
Yeah, they looked just fine in that game. But I do want to – I'm putting this as kind of a note to myself in editing. Make sure to give me the links to your articles. Well, you do give me the links to your articles. So remind editing Colton, put the links into YouTube so everyone go check him out on TWSN. He's putting some great stuff out there.
So is Alex.
So is Alex, of course. Alex just doesn't send me his links. I need to
That's true,
send me
yeah.
the
I blow
links.
everybody up. But my poor phone, everyone gets the link.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful Super Bowl, and I have literally no complaints whatsoever. So,
Mahomes' worst game ever. But anyways.
yeah, everyone moved into the other room to play pool. I just stood there and watched it.
I will end it with this. Let's just remember, though, the last time this happened to Kansas City, they made a lot of changes, and then they went on to win a Super Bowl.
And I expect really nothing less.
A motivated Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid next season. The whole the hate that is now on Patrick Mahomes.
Now
that's what I'm saying. Now it's just it's just going to be interesting to see. It is a very telling time for Kansas City and the future of that franchise.
Yeah, I love all the overreactors saying he has no chance of catching Brady now. That's not true whatsoever. He's got plenty of time
29.
left in the tank.
What are we talking about?
Bro's got 10 years left, unfortunately, but it's just the truth. But let's go ahead and move along to our winner's circle. I'm going to keep it in the Super Bowl talk with Jalen Hurts being my winner for this week, Super Bowl MVP, and just finally getting those flowers that I felt he's deserved his entire career. Does he have probably the best team in a long time assembled around him? Yes, but does that mean that he is a worse player because of that? No, it just means that he doesn't have to put up Josh Allen stats. He doesn't have to put up Joe Burrow numbers to win games. And we saw there, they had to rely on him in that game. And what did he do? He showed up, he put up a great performance, and got Super Bowl MVP. So shout out Jalen Hurts. Glad you're finally getting some respect. I think we all mentioned that if he won, and which he did, he'd be the top 5 quarterback, fifth quarterback.
I mean, he is QB5, but I mean, there's a serious debate. He should maybe be higher than that. The man's gone to the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years. And he's won one, and he's beaten Patrick Mahomes. And we put the prestige of the Joe Burrow name on being able to beat Patrick Mahomes. Well, Hurts has now done it in the bigger game. I mean, maybe he deserves to be higher.
Well, it's similar to that of Eli Manning. I mean, a lot of his legacy is the fact that he beat Brady twice. Yeah. So Hurts could be that guy that kind of, I don't think it's really inflated, but gets more notoriety because he's the guy who took down Mahomes at least once and potentially more than that.
I think, to put it this way, for me personally, I think back when we did our quarterback rankings, I had Hurts either at number 10 or as an honorable mention, and right now I'd probably have him either 5 or 6 on my list. He jumped up a lot of spots.
That takes a lot coming from Garrett and LSU.
It really does, because he was an Alabama guy. So.
But anyways, we got some other winners.
I'll stay also with the Eagles. However, this is an off-field thing. Andrew Howard III suffered a severe head injury while protecting his sister from the debris of the occurrence of that plane crash that happened in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Well, A.J. Brown brought the Lombardi Trophy as he promised to that young Eagles fan who was recovering in the hospital. So props to A.J. Brown. I know he's getting a lot of bad rep for complaining and maybe whatever was going on between him and Hurts. But that's a classy move to make that promise to the kid and then go ahead and do it. So mad respect for A.J.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, I'm switching over to basketball. Dalton Connect is in my winner circle.
All right.
He
He
no
dodged
longer
a bullet.
no longer has to play meaningless minutes in Charlotte. So good for him. We're happy to have him back, and it's not awkward at all. Who needs a big?
I was
We
watching
don't.
that first game with Luca and just seeing him on the bench. I was like, I can't imagine like what's running through that guy's head.
I
Like,
can't either.
It's like obviously he's got no ill will towards his teammates, but just like knowing and the fact that the Hornets were trying to peel that to where he might end up still going there. Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot going through. I'm assuming that fell through though, right?
Yeah, because Mark Williams is also sat out the next 3 games after that, so it's kind of hard to make that case.
Apparently his back was
if
like
he's
a
out.
jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
That's what Twitter says. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good winner. Dalton Connect still gets a chance at a championship and not just death. Garrett.
Yeah, guys. So I'll stick with the basketball theme. However, I'll take it to women's college hoops and an electric matchup between UCLA and USC yesterday, and more specifically, Juju freaking Watkins. Let's talk about her night. UCLA came in as an undefeated #1 team. USC hosted them last night. Juju didn't care. How about here's this stat line for you. She played 39 out of 40 minutes, scored 38 of the team's 71 points while going 6 of 9 from deep.
Nice.
Nabbed 11 rebounds to secure the double-double, and the icing on the cake was a whopping 8 blocks on the night. She was the force on the court and the largest reason why USC was able to pull off this upset. So all the flowers to Juju. She's probably going to be a #1 pick.
I was going to say, Alex, is she eligible for the draft this year? And if not, how is she not #1? Because I know a lot of people talk about the girl from UConn that I can't think of right now.
Paige Beckers.
Yeah, Beck.
Yeah, but she's obviously able to go because, I mean, you can go after 1 year.
Okay,
but
I didn't know if it was some
okay.
kind of weird
Yeah, I
thing
think this
where
is her
because she
second
came back
year.
last year and she was up there with Caitlin Clark when it came to like names. Like
Right.
she blew up last year, so
She
that's
had
why
a
I didn't know
little-
if there's a role.
Yeah, she just had a little injury at the end of last year, so she wanted to come back and kind of prove herself that she can stay healthy for a full year and dominate even more, and she has done that.
She's done absolutely that.
So
How is she not #1 then?
because Paige Beckers is really good at basketball.
Okay, so Juju would be #2 then, I guess. I'm assuming?
I would say so.
I would
yeah.
say they're probably 1 and 2.
I'm just gonna call her Paige Buckets, just like I call her. Not, I guess it's not a fair comparison. But I always called Doug McBuckets. Like that's just his name. I don't even know what his real name is. I do know, but yeah. So great one from Garrett. Another you were just falling
Yeah,
in love
talk
with
to
the
him,
sport,
Garrett.
aren't
Let's
you?
go.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm
loving
just
it.
starting to
Loving
get a little bit more interested in it.
We love to see it. So, do you know who Daniel Tice is?
No.
Okay, he got traded
We
to
haven't,
the
we haven't
Oklahoma.
made it that far yet.
Don't worry, you won't have to make it that far because he'll be out of the league in a year or two.
Okay,
But,
all right, good.
OKC got traded. That was a segue to our NBA trade deadline talk. Daniel Tice got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm just kind of going through some. We talked about, obviously, Luka, and we might mention that a little bit still today, but I want to get through the ones that we missed. So we left off at De'Aaron Fox getting traded to the Spurs, Levine to the Kings. So from that point, Daniel Tice got to the Oklahoma City Thunder for some center help. Jonas Valanciunas went to the Kings, which I thought was an interesting. I don't know. It's just like, why do you need him? I thought actually that the Lakers might try and get him. I thought he'd be a nice
Me too,
pickup for
yeah.
you guys, but and for the price that he was, I feel like you probably could have
Easily, yeah.
gotten him. But you getting Alex Lynn? Is that?
Already on the team.
Already on the team, okay.
was -19 in his minutes, so
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds like a great addition.
Just what we needed.
Thank you for taking him away from the Pacers because we were going to pick him up.
So
I was
excited.
like, I don't know about that one, Chief.
so excited to have him.
Yep. I could tell.
Lies.
Yusuf Nurkic is headed to Charlotte for some death, and Cody Martin, and I can't say that name, got traded in replacement. Kevin Porter Jr. I think is low-key a steal for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
For Marjan
Beauchamp.
Beauchamp. And yeah, I think that's absolutely a steal for the Bucks. I know he's had the off-court issues, but he's still been a really consistent bench player for the Clippers. I think he'll get a bigger role with the Bucks, and I really like that fit.
Yeah, because when I was looking through some of the trades, because I'll be the first man, I don't follow the NBA like crazy, especially like these two individuals. But Kevin Porter, I was like, that's a decent bench piece right there for a team who is floating around. Obviously, I believe they're 5th right now in the East. So it could be big come playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be like a Lonnie Walker kind of pickup for the Lakers, where you don't really see it, but then he has that one game where he wins that game for him.
Okay.
And I could definitely see that happening. The Clippers got an upgrade, though, I would say, over Kevin Porter Jr. with Bogdanovich, who gets dealt for Terrence Mann and Bones Highland, who are made of glass.
Yeah.
And then we get to the big ones that I have like a page dedicated to somewhere. There it is. We got Kyle Kuzma to the Bucks, which is there's two ways to look at it. We haven't really got anything from his play yet. But Kuzma and Jericho Sims go to the Bucks. Chris Middleton, poor guy, goes to the Wizards. A.J. Johnson also goes there, and there's a first-round pick swap for the Wizards. DeLon White also goes to the Knicks, and Patrick Baldwin Jr., still waiting on him to do something, goes to the Spurs. So what are your thoughts on that trade? I know you have a little connection with Kuzma, of course. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
I was very confused when I first heard about this trade because I feel like it's kind of a lateral move. And then I was looking at it, and Kuzma is younger and makes $10 million less, so it's a good move. And like the other move they made with Kevin Porter Jr., they're looking for younger pieces that don't cost as much and are budget friendly. So maybe they can go get another piece when Giannis asks for another teammate to help again.
Yeah, because they're going to need it. They need, first of all, just to get rid of Doc Rivers, but
But yeah, I don't think the skill is that much different there. I think they pretty much average the same points and things, but the contracts is different, and that's just more team friendly. So I guess it makes sense.
Has Kuzma he's got multiple years on his deal though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's honestly a good move that could develop. I think Kuzma has just been playing garbage basketball for so long that like he just kind of devolved into it, and I've seen that with a couple other players. One's not coming to mind, but where they finally get that chance on a winning basketball, kind of Malik Monk a little bit, I would say. Finally gets that chance on a winning basketball team, and they we've seen what the best of Kuzma looks like, and I think that still could be in there as a side piece to be honest.
He's got 3 years left on the deal, so there's plenty of time on that contract.
Yeah, give him a year to kind of fill things out, and then next year he could be definitely a great third to fourth guy on the team. But moving down, I guess we can talk about this rescinded trade. Mark Williams to the Lakers for Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and a 2031 first-round pick. Honestly, I think you guys are just fine keeping what you traded there. That was a sign from God.
I mean, yeah, probably, but I would also like to have a big man on the team.
That's what free agency's for.
But yeah, having a shooter like Dalton Connect around the gravity that's already created by LeBron, Luka, and then Austin Reeves, that's going to be great, and I can't wait to see how that works out.
And Cam Reddish, right?
Yeah, Cam Reddish, great Lakers legend.
I still can't believe he's as bad. Like, I know, like, he has his moments, but, like, coming out of Duke, and it takes a lot for me to say this.
Of course.
I thought Cam had immense talent. I think he was, like, one of the top recruits in his recruiting class as well. It's never flourished.
It's just kind of a lack of effort, isn't it? From what I've watched,
he's
like
good defensively, but he doesn't really want to develop anywhere else. It seems like, and as a one-way basketball player, that's really going to limit you
on the wrong way in today's NBA.
Exactly, yeah. So he just hasn't really put in the work to be good offensively, and that's really shown.
Yeah. But they did not overpay as much as the Cavs did for DeAndre Hunter. I still think that's a good pickup. I just feel like Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, 3 second-rounders and 2 pick swaps is just kind of a crazy haul for a kind of injury-prone player. But I think it could be one that when you get to the playoffs, he could be a difference maker if you're slowing down Mitchell, if you're slowing down Garland. But what do you guys think about
has
that?
he found a shot? Like, I guess you would be the better person to ask. Like, I know coming out he was known for his defense, obviously, right? Virginia
Absolutely.
kid, as I remember. So if I say Virginia, I'm assuming they only scored 50 points a night. So
Of course.
nobody
nobody
gets buckets in that program. But
apparently Diabate on a last-second shot to go to the final for the overtime, and then eventually,
Okay, but yeah. So my question, like, has he found a shot, or is he just still going to be like more of a defensive guy? Because LeVert at least gave him good points off the bench.
Yeah, he did, but not as good as Hunter.
Okay.
The only problem I have with this trade is the 3 second-round picks. That's a lot. But besides that, I would give up everything else that they gave up. Even 2 maybe, but 3 just seems like a lot. He shoots 39% from 3 and averages 19 points a game.
19?
Yeah.
I didn't realize he's up to 19.
Yeah,
Okay, so nobody plays defense in the NBA. The rumor's true.
This was a great trade for the Cavs, and I would honestly list them as one of my winners because that was their one weakness was the wing. They didn't really have anybody consistent there, and they do now. So this is a scary, scary team.
What you mean, Dean Wade isn't like that? No, yeah, this is actually an incredibly scary team. I think that Cavs Celtics series is going to be must-see TV, assuming we get that.
Yeah. Let's slow down there.
And those pick swaps,
Who you got?
the Cleveland's going to be
Shut
really
up.
good, so those pick swaps are not really going to matter.
Yeah. You've talked me into it more than I was walking in. DeAndre Hunter is a little better. I knew he was an outstanding defender. I knew he had figured it out on offense. I didn't know he was figuring out that much. And then the big trade that honestly I don't know. I'm still like indifferent about this trade. The Warriors get Jimmy Butler. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Davion Mitchell, who's honestly my favorite piece in this trade. I think if anybody's going to make that guy into a real NBA threat, a real NBA point guard, it's going to be the Heat. Josh Richardson and KJ Martin go to the Jazz. Dennis Schroeder, Ish Smith status, man. How many teams is he up to? And Lindy Waters go to the Pistons. And the Toronto Raptors get PJ Tucker. They weren't done yet, I'll go ahead and list this one off. They got Brandon Ingram in a trade with the Pelicans, in which I think the Pelicans ended up getting PJ Tucker.
I think
from
so,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like he got swapped over to there.
PJ Tucker got traded like 5 times last week.
Yeah.
Like, no
In a week,
exaggeration.
yeah.
That poor dude. I can't imagine telling my family like, "Hey, we're moving, and we're moving." In. Just hold on. Let me get back
We're
to
staying
you.
in the hotel right now.
Yeah, Pelicans. Actually, no. PJ Tucker did not get traded to the Pelicans. It was Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick for Brandon Ingram, which I think is a good haul, assuming he stays healthy. It's a weird core forming in the Raptors, but I honestly see it one day. You get a good pick this year, maybe turning into a playoff team.
Because that's one thing. I'm a big Scotty Barnes fan. Me and you have had that conversation
yeah.
before. How does Barnes and Ingram work together? Because in my brain, I kind of see them similar almost. Like they're big, tall, lengthy guys who want the ball in their hands. Are they going to be able to work?
I think so, just because Barnes is a lot bulkier than Ingram is. So he could play a small ball 4 if they need to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that lineup will work really well. Because I don't think they have high aspirations, like championship aspirations.
No.
They're obviously not on this team. So as a starting lineup, Ingram at the 3 and then Barnes at the 4, I think that would work pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like Ingram has that ability to play off the ball. That he'll be he hasn't been able to do it much at the Pelicans, but I think he honestly could be better with some of that attention off of him and being able to flourish, like focus on Scotty and Scotty can kick out to Ingram and Ingram do his thing. So yeah, I really like this trade for the Raptors. I don't really know what they're building to, but Masai Ujiri usually you never really know what he's doing, and then all of a sudden they're back.
He's usually cooking something.
He's
yeah.
usually cooking something up. But then we can circle back to that Jimmy Butler trade because I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, have some respect. The Warriors are desperate. It's embarrassing.
It's pretty ugly.
Everybody turned them down, so they went with Jimmy Butler. Big difference in between him and Wiggins.
Why not blow the whole thing up? Like, I know you can't trade Curry, but you can trade Curry.
They can
blow it up and start all over. Like, why are you reaching and grasping with so many players just saying, I don't want to go there? Just end it. Like, take it out back, pop, and it'd be done.
Just call it a career.
It doesn't make sense
well,
to
that's
me.
that's what it sounded like they were doing,
Yeah.
though. Like the words from Kerr, the words from Curry, and I think even Draymond Green sounded like they were just content with riding off into the sunset. And then they make this move, which just has the complete opposite decision. I guess Mike Dunleavy just isn't content with riding off into the sunset because he wasn't around for the winning time. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a. I like this deal for the Heat more than I like it for the Warriors. I think Andrew Wiggins is a good pickup. I think he's more than what Jimmy Butler was giving you, which was nothing because he was suspended the whole time. And Kyle Anderson's a good, solid piece. Davion Mitchell, I think, can turn it into something. So, yeah, I really like this move for the Heat.
Andrew Wiggins makes less than half of what Jimmy Butler is now making after that
That, too.
horrid extension. Jimmy averages 17, 5, and 4, and Wiggins averages 17, 4, and 2. So, like 1 and 2 in the rebound and assist category is a $26 million difference.
And that's where I was going to. It frees up the money for
What
the
are they
Heat. The Heat
doing?
won this deal. I'm cool with it. As a glorified D-Wade Heat fan, I'm happy to see this, and I'm interested to see who the Godfather goes out and gets to become the new star of the Heat.
I mean,
Giannis.
you need shooting because Buddy Hield is now Buddy Hield again, and you're not getting that with Jimmy Butler.
I love how Buddy Hield always just becomes Buddy Hield again. Like, it's great because I remember me and Matt having a spat about that. I was like, "Don't worry, give him a month or so." I remember my other Warriors friend saying the same thing, and now they're like, "Oh, you were right." It's like, yeah, I watched him play for the Pacers for at least 2 years, maybe 3. But let's go ahead and wrap this up by looking at these conference standings, which I don't really see shaking up that much here with about, 25 games to go?
25, yeah. I think.
In the East, Cleveland has the lead by 5.5 games over Boston. Then New York is 8 games back from the Cavs. And then you have Indiana 13 games back. And this is where some movements will probably happen. You got Milwaukee at the 5 seed, Detroit at the 6 seed. Detroit.
First time since 2009 with a winning record at the All-Star break. Congratulations, Pistons.
And
Goodbye to
Harris
Robin.
effect.
And then they are the last team with a winning record in the East, as in the 7 seed, the Orlando Magic are 27-29. Injuries, man. Without injuries, this is a top 4 team in the East.
Absolutely.
It's very sad to see. Hopefully they bounce back next year. Miami, they're in the 8th seed. Atlanta is in the 9th. Chicago is somehow still in the 10th.
I told you they were making the playoffs.
I was so confused. I'm like, Philly, what are we doing? We're a game and a half back from the Bulls in 11th place.
And they're also got their big 3, and they're still losing. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe Joel Embiid played as many minutes as he does on the bench. It'd be okay, but
Last 4 in the East being below 500. What a change of pace for that conference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we it's to the point we need to eliminate conferences, man. Like, this is not fair to the Mavericks, the Kings, who actually are looking good as of recent. Like, those teams, the Timberwolves, like, they deserve to be higher up in the rankings. I don't know how that would all work in the end, but let's talk about the West really quick. The Oklahoma City Thunder in the lead. Then there's an 8.5 game gap. And then there is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Denver Nuggets find themselves in 3rd.
don't let them get hot.
No kidding. The Houston Rockets have slipped the last couple games. They were in 2nd for a while, then 3rd. Now they're in 4th. The Lakers are in 5th. The Clippers are in 6th. Or should I call them the Chargers? It's funny because they're literally both the same exact organization. The Minnesota Timberwolves in 7th. The Dallas Mavericks in 8th. Sacramento Kings in 9th. All, honestly, I could see jumping up the rankings, having a run or something like that. But, hey, I was right about Minnesota, buddy.
You were.
Golden State in 10th, and then Phoenix, the Suns, a game out of the play-in 11th.
Very quickly, Dallas injuries everywhere. And when it comes to talking about no bigs, Gafford got hurt. Davis got hurt. Man, I feel so bad for AD.
There was, 2.5 quarters? It was in the 3rd quarter he got hurt that I was like, hold on.
Yeah, no, he was cooking. He was cooking those first 2.
Hold on. I was familiar with Anthony Davis's game, but I was not familiar with Anthony Davis's game.
And then, no, I was.
And then,
he gets hurt.
I was like, oh, wait, I am familiar with
I was
Anthony
about to
Davis's
say,
game.
it certainly seemed like the media got familiar with those Lakers players because now everybody loves Max Christie, even though he was doing the same thing in a Lakers uniform.
I do feel bad for AD because he talked about it. He's like, I'm here to try to fix this and make this quote unquote right because he's got to deal with an entire fan base having a funeral outside, as Garrett mentioned the last time we talked about the trade. It's horrible for AD. And
I feel like it's so
it takes a lot
unfair.
for me to stick up for a Kentucky guy. So
Yeah.
They brought him back way too fast. I think they were trying to bring him back on the same pace that Luka was coming back, but it's not the same injury. It's a worse injury history with AD. You got to take your time bringing him back.
What's going on with the Mavs? Like, I know this is going to take a little time, but like, what the hell is going on with the Mavs? Like, they used to be one of the better run organizations in the league, and it's like, I guess Mark Cuban sold that majority
That's what it was, yeah.
Stake, and all of a sudden we just don't know how to run an organization.
And then after that trade, it came out like Nico Harrison doesn't even want to do his job. So like
I'll do it.
That
Just
doesn't help.
Put me back in time. I'll take your job, and I can just ride off of that, dude. Like, you had Luka. I don't know. Let's not get into that. We have a new segment on the show called the Halftime Highlights. If you all watch the Beyond the Score podcast, you're probably familiar with the post-game presser. It's that, but now at the halfway point of the show, the spinoff, we'll call it, of the post-game presser. Nothing can amount to that, but we already saw my halftime highlight. I gave it in the first half. Well, let's see everybody else's. I'll let Garrett take it away from there.
All right, fellas. I suppose first we'll go ahead and take a look at Josh's. If Josh, you want to go ahead and walk us through.
Yeah, as you can see, a very crucial spot right here. One, only up one. And Matt Sexton says it perfectly. Haley Doo steps in there with 4 fouls and comes up with a huge steal. And then NKU gets it, knocks down 2 free throws, and the rest is just history.
Yeah.
I didn't want to keep like nailing this home, but it was such a cool moment to see. And then even the celebration afterwards, like in the post game, Hands talks about, I'm just a little wet because the celebration of like just the classic you always see, the water bottles flying everywhere and whatnot.
Right.
It was nice to see all their hard work come to fruition, because not mentioned was how many one-loss games or one-possession games they had this season to come up on top of a one and battle back like they did. It had to be that.
And now Hallie coming up with 2 game-clinching steals in back-to-back games. Incredible. Noel Hubert making those 2 free throws right after that.
Yes.
Big time.
Huge free throws. All right, Alex, we'll go ahead and move on to your clip next.
All right, some more basketball for me. Surprise, surprise. Daquan Jeffries trying to get a floater to go, and it is not going to go.
Can we get a replay of that?
I can see if I can cue that up.
Oh, hey, Ben.
There's Ben. That's the wrong channel.
Victor Wembanyama.
He didn't jump.
Victor Wembanyama
He didn't
not
jump.
He didn't jump. It was glad we replayed it so Josh noticed that.
Yeah,
No, I noticed. I literally just couldn't process. I'm like, he just mine.
Like it's a child, he swatted him away. And Eric Collins with the great call.
Always a great call. That is.
It's the one thing they're doing right in Charlotte.
Absolutely, that's the one thing that is not death in that city. But Garrett, let's see yours.
I do have one. Since the audio is switched over to our other source, I'm not sure if it's going to have audio, but I'll play it anyways. Here we go. Oh, it does have audio. How about that? So Juju dribbling, falls down, stays with the dribble, picks up from Curry range, just pulls up and dunks it.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. Just incredible stuff from Juju. Like I said earlier in the winner's circle talk, I mean, she absolutely owned the floor out there tonight, or last night. I mean, 38 points is insane.
What a
just
bucket.
Just an incredible bucket. Just being able to keep the dribble, too. I mean, that's crazy.
That's, I think, what I'm most impressed with.
Exactly.
I
That's
have
what
not
caught my
seen
eye.
that too often.
That was like a Harlem Globetrotters type dribble. If somebody did that to me, I'm checking myself out again.
I would say 99% of players probably pick up their dribble and travel there.
Yeah,
For sure.
No, absolutely. No questions about that. But that is one hell of a highlight. I at first that's a travel, isn't? And the basketball knowledge came back. So that insane. I don't even care if it was, but yeah. All right, that's a good first halftime highlight.
That went pretty well.
Yeah,
Love it,
pretty
love it.
smooth,
Yeah.
pretty smooth. Don't worry, I won't edit as much on the other ones, but that was just that was so good.
I hate
We can just roll it again. We got
No,
time.
no,
right?
we don't. No, let's go.
Let's go ahead and move along to college basketball. As we had an interesting week, the number 1, number 2 teams lost, so that's something to talk about there. Let's talk about that top 25, though. I'm not going to go through them all like I have been. Just some highlights. Auburn, they stay on top after losing to Florida. I think that's fair. Bama now moves up to number 2 to set up the number 1, number 2 matchup that is tomorrow.
Would you ever have thought that'd be the 1-2 matchup in a college basketball season?
No.
No. If you go back like 2 years, I'd call you crazy for sure.
That sounds like college football from a decade ago. Is what that sounds like.
Yeah,
That's
when
very
Cam
true.
Newton start playing?
Duke ended up falling to tied 3rd, or technically 4th, after dropping to Clemson, which may or may not have seen coming. Houston drops 1 to 6 after losing to Arizona, who's like the biggest mover this week, up 7 to number 13. They ended up taking a loss, which about a team we'll talk about a little later. St. John's, they entered the top 10 for the first time since Josh was a wee lad after an impressive win at UConn. They unfortunately fell to a trap game this week, but that's just a part of it. And then welcome back Clemson and Creighton to the top 25, and goodbye UConn and Illinois. Illinois I don't think should ever come back, but for some reason people think they're good. But let's start this by talking about the number 1 and number 2 team, Auburn and Duke. And kind of the title I have for this, or the subtitle, whatever, losing is okay. Both are quality losses, especially for Auburn to number 6 Florida, and a now ranked Clemson for Duke, who I think Clemson will probably stay in those rankings. Auburn kind of gave up, I would say, at the end of that game from what I saw. So that's kind of alarming to me, but I would say far from a deal breaker. And as far as Duke goes, Flagg was really not an option until late in the game. He did end up with 18, but a lot of that was in the last 5 to 8 minutes of the game. And Duke was in the middle of a 16-game winning streak. Auburn was in the middle of a 14-game winning streak. And I feel like when teams go on that, there's a lot of pressure that builds up, and you're not challenged. That's the big thing. You're not being challenged, especially Duke in that ACC, probably the weakest ACC I've ever seen. And I think you need to be challenged in order to be ready in March, because when you get that punch in the nose, it can be hard to come back from if you don't have experience from it. So in my eyes, I think both of these losses boosted their resumes and my confidence in them to do well in March. But what do you guys think about those?
Yeah, no, it's your segue or headline, whatever you want to say, is perfect. That's sometimes there is such thing as a good loss. It's to remember that feeling, because I never want to be that team. Honestly, I don't like my team even winning the conference championship. I want them to be thirsty to go and win the national championship because the conference title was taken from them or whatnot. So yeah. I think you said it perfectly, so I'm not even going to add much to it.
Yeah, I feel like especially the Florida game was kind of an anomaly. Florida's really good.
Absolutely.
First off, they've beat the number 1 team twice, so an impressive resume. But they hit 13 threes. Not something they're going to do every game. And Broome had 18, but on 19 shots. I think that's the worst she's going to shoot all season. So that was kind of an anomaly there. And then Clemson on the other side against Duke, they're just really good. They're a good defensive team, and they're 12-2 at home. So that's a tough place to play. And Duke hit 8 more threes, but Clemson outscored Duke by 18 in the paint. That's my only takeaway from that game. That was a little concerning because I don't think I've seen Duke get bullied in the paint like that this season. So that was a little surprising.
Yeah. That Duke team looked exhausted after that game. Clemson gave them a hard fight. But, yeah, I think really the moral of the story is I feel like those losses told more about Clemson and Florida and the teams that they are than about Duke and Auburn and what they're doing. I think it says more about them. But Alex, you had a game you wanted to talk about. Good old Kentucky.
Kentucky beat little brother again. Tennessee.
Love how we both have little bro.
75-64 win.
Family.
Tennessee has 1 win in the last 6 matchups against Kentucky. That feels pretty good. 4 players scored double digits for the Wildcats, including freshman Trent Noah, who is coming on, and it's great because we needed a good freshman to step up. The other 2 have not quite yet, but Trent Noah has, and now it looks like Jackson Robinson may be out, so hopefully Noah's able to step up some more. Held Lanier to 3 of 13 shooting, even without Butler and Jackson Robinson at the end of the game. Held on to a lead, which is something they struggled with doing, especially with those 2 out this season. So a really impressive win there.
Yeah. So I wanna move it to a topic that you brought up, but actually I first have a question. If I were to ask you guys who the best team in college basketball since January 25th was, what would your answer be?
Grand Canyon University.
Garrett's not far. I'll say that much.
If I had to ask, I would guess like maybe Florida, because I don't know when their number 1 was. It would have been Florida, maybe.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Is that your guess? Fellas, it's Kansas State.
Oh.
It is Kansas State who has rattled off 6 wins. This is a team that was 7-11 overall, with losses to Liberty, Drake, Wichita State, Oklahoma State, and Houston by 30. They were 1-6 in conference. That 1 win was against UC. But they have
I'm just catching strays today, and I have nothing to fire back.
They have. You can just call me Karen again.
I was actually gonna compliment you and say you do look like Josh Allen, but you know what?
All right. So they have flipped the switch, in which they have knocked off number 23 West Virginia at the time by 13, number 3 Iowa State at home by 20. Number 16 Kansas and number 13 Arizona are also wins in that, and they might still have an outside chance at it. I really do. It kind of reminds me of that Texas A&M year. I think it was 23 or 22, where they just sucked. They looked awful in the middle of the season, and then rattled off like 8 or 9 straight. And they were a bubble team. I don't think they ended up getting in, so that doesn't bode well for Kansas State. But shout out Doug McDaniel in the last 6 games. He was very quiet. He was their big transfer, 15.2 points per game, and 6.7 assists in that stretch. Also, Coleman Hawkins in the last 6. He's been playing. They were trying to put him at the 3, and he's just not a 3. And now they got him playing that 4 to 5 role. Now he's got 12 points per game, and then 6 boards, 5.3 assists, and 5 blocks against Kansas. So they just remembered how to play. They figured out how to play together. It was a big transfer team that tangled all together, and now they figured it out. And I think they have room to lose a game or 2. I think that if they drop an away game, I think they still have Arizona again, or they have somebody again. And if they were able to, they play at Arizona. So if they're able to,
Iowa State's the only ranked team they got the rest of the year.
Is Iowa State?
At BYU, always tough though.
Yes.
At Utah, also tough just because it's over on the West Coast. So you make that travel. Arizona State at UCF in the bounce house versus Colorado at Cincinnati. Put some respect on the team's name.
No, thank you.
And then versus Iowa State to end the year. I'll be honest with you. There's maybe 2 losses on there, and one of them's just because my heart's talking. They very much are live to get in. Lenardi updated his bracketology this morning, and they are currently next 4 out, along with Xavier, Indiana, and Boise State. So they are right there in the mix in the bubble. And you go on another run to continue, who knows? They get in. That's not a team I want to play.
Yeah, I heard like before the Arizona loss, they were like the 3rd team out. I don't know if that was Lombardi or somebody else I heard that from. And then whoever I was listening to was like, well, if they win against Arizona, now they're the next 4 out. And then another win, they're the first 4 out. And next thing you know, they're in the tournament. So I'm happy. I'm happy to see this kind of shift. I always love seeing those teams that just figure it out and turn it on. And I think those are the most dangerous teams in March, are the ones that know what it's like to lose and don't want to do that again. And I wouldn't want to face this team as a 12 to 11 seed. I would not want to face this team at all. But Alex, you got something else you want to bring up?
Yeah, fellas, the Big East is fun.
It's very fun.
I did not think I was going to be saying that before the season started, but 73-71 upset of St. John's as soon as they get in the top 10 by Villanova. So that's tough for them. I'm cheering for Rick Pitino now, but what a great game. Aaron Scott with 22 big points for St. John's, but Ugo Poplar with 22 to match that for Villanova. Both hit 11 threes, so if you wanted defense in this game, it wasn't the game for you.
Yeah.
But most stats were identical, but Villanova had +8 in the paint. And that's really the big difference in this one because it was close throughout. And one of the many great games and great upsets that we keep having in the Big East this whole season.
I feel like the Big East started off, like the conference play started off kind of slow. Like all the big teams were kind of playing, some of the bottom feeders. And then all of a sudden the Big East was like, hold up, let's go. Like, wait a second. We got you. And now, like, these past 2 weeks have just been a renaissance for the Big East, let me tell you. And it's not done yet. It's not done at all. Craigton plays St. John's, right?
Sunday,
yeah.
On
For
Sunday. So, that's going to be a fun game. And we got a lot of fun games.
Yeah, with all that being said, since we're talking about St. John's, props to Pitino.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we all give him crap because of what went down at Louisville. They were still national champions. You can't take a banner. I watched them win that title.
I hardly agree.
I will.
Oh, you will?
Well, of course you will. Of course. But, yeah, no, all that being said, Is there 5 coaches in the nation better than Pitino in 2025?
No.
No. I'm
How
not so
nuts
sure.
is that? That his game and his skills and his basketball brain has progressed. What, he dominated early 90s with Kentucky? Is that right? So we're going on basically my entire lifetime, 35 years of this man just dominating college basketball, making a mistake and going to Boston. But
Yeah.
it's absolutely impressive. If nothing to add there, I am going to talk about another team and the potential rumor of Indiana hiring this guy. However, how about Michigan beating number 7 Purdue and getting revenge
boy, here it
in a
is.
75-73
There it is.
victory at home? Dusty May has done nothing but basically he's done everything he could to turn around and get that Indiana job if it comes open. I know you talked about maybe it's not open, maybe it's
It might
open.
not be as open as it seems.
Yeah,
I can
so
elaborate.
but with that, I mean, that's got to be the guy to go at, right? Indiana has to just throw the bag at him and say, "Come home." The man played or coached under Bob Knight. He is Indiana,
He was an assistant.
and he's
I'm not
already
sure
beating
coach.
Purdue. So hey,
So I do have a question, Alex. Do SEC refs do this thing where they expect contact and call a foul? Because they did that twice to Trey Kaufman-Rin.
sounds like an excuse to me.
Yeah, I know that's what you want to say.
They do it some for sure, yeah.
Because we would have lost that game probably regardless, but the fact that both times TKR went out, they went on a 10-0 run, probably, and he would have stayed in. I feel like that's a difference. There was one that was just blatantly like he had his hands up, but he acted like he was going to jump and he just didn't because he knew he was in foul trouble, and they just expected him to do it, and they called a foul on it, but whatever.
Home cooking is usually pretty bad in the SEC, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so I mean, you're going to lose games throughout the season. Do we want to talk about North Carolina? Oh wait, no, we don't, because they are just irrelevant, my guy.
I'm just
Clemson.
catching strays, but I deserve that one
Yeah,
for sure.
no, you're going to come out Purdue. I'm going to come out North Carolina. That's for sure. But yeah, let's talk about Indiana a little bit, because while yes, it was announced by Indiana themselves, no word from Woodson that he is. I forget if they said resigned or retiring. I'm assuming they said retiring. But there has been no word from Woodson. His post-game press conference against Michigan, they told nobody to ask any questions about it, which is pretty unprofessional if you ask me.
Yeah.
But that's just Indiana for you. And so after that, they went on to beat Michigan State at Michigan State, which is a pretty big win. I honestly think they could probably beat Purdue at home. If that happens, it's probably just wishful thinking for me because I know Mike Woodson keeps them at average. I think there's a chance he could maybe work his way back in as an Indiana alumni. He's got the favor up in the higher ranks or whatever you want to call it. So I think the door is still open, but I would probably lean towards him still getting fired.
The ESPN headline did state Indiana says Woodson will step down.
Woodson has
after this
not said a
season.
word. And they have looked a lot better since that happened as well.
I do not see a road really where he's able to keep the job, especially after the university announced it, because one, it's bad to fire somebody who's then gets hot after that, of course, but it's even worse to be like, we're just kidding.
Yeah.
He can stay.
I would agree to that.
It was just a joke.
I would agree to that. But if there's a world if they keep on winning, I'd say they're definitely back in the bubble conversation. And if they're able to get that Purdue win, that's probably a win that gets them in. And so long as they don't lose anything too crazy, they could probably find themselves in the tournament. And Mike Woodson playing on a whim.
Also currently in the next 4 out, according to bracketology.
Yeah, I think that's a fair spot right now. But they have some resume builders they could get, and season's not over for him yet. I don't think it's over for Mike Woodson quite yet, but we'll see. Anyways, we got some games to talk about this week. There's a pretty big game in the SEC, I think.
A little bit, yeah.
Pretty solid. We might have alluded to it a little bit earlier, but first of all, at 1 p.m. on CBS, Purdue is at home playing against Wisconsin. Bounce back game, baby. Let's do it. And then we have Clemson playing against Florida State. I think that's an interesting game. Texas A&M and Arkansas should be another good one. Tennessee and Vanderbilt I want to mention because Vandy. Come on, guys. Let's get you back ranked. That's at 1 on SEC Network. We also have Houston, number 6, They're playing against Arizona at Arizona, who's number 13. Arizona coming off a loss. That's offense versus defense right there. And Arizona's been playing really good ball. They just ran into a Kansas State team that's playing better ball. So I still could see them getting that win against Houston. That's at 2 p.m. on ESPN. Texas Tech is playing against Oklahoma State. Nobody cares. Missouri and Georgia. That should be an interesting one. Missouri trying to keep that top 25 status. And then here's the big game in the SEC. Number 1 Auburn, 22-2 against number 2 Alabama, 21-3. By metrics of Purdue, Purdue beat Alabama and Auburn beat the crap out of Purdue. So Auburn should win this game, but that's not how basketball works. It's also at Alabama. That should be a big game. Alex, you got comments on that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited for this game. I feel like this one is an offense versus defense game, honestly.
Yeah.
Auburn, really good defensively. Alabama, really good offensively. And honestly, I think they have more weapons to pull this one out, and especially at home. But, I mean, when you have Janai Broom on one side, you never know what could happen. So I'll be really interested to see how they defend him, especially with who's the best defender they got for him, Grant Nelson. So that may not go the best for them. So I'm really interested to see how this game turns out.
War Eagle is all I have to say.
That's your Lane Kiffin of the college basketball.
I'm going to ride this train all the way through March, baby.
You just have that SEC team you fall in love with, and I don't like how that typically ends. I guess I'll mention for you that Cincinnati plays Iowa State at Iowa State.
Say which one. That is a big game.
Too.
That is a big game for UC, who's now ran off 3 straight.
That's true.
Mind you, they've basically beat the bottom feeders of the Big 12. But speaking of the Big 12, that Houston-Arizona game, matchup of different styles at home, Arizona for first place in the Big 12. We talk about a down year in the Big 12. Well, those two teams are not having down years in conference play. I'm very much looking forward to that game and the difference in styles.
Yeah, and it's at 2, so it should wrap up right around that Alabama-Auburn game. So I'll definitely be glued to my TV for about 4 hours there, and probably another 2 hours after that, because Mississippi State and Ole Miss play against each other. It's 22-19. Ole Miss is at home now, so we'll see if they're able to get the advantage there. Kentucky's got Texas. You got any thoughts going into that game at all?
If everybody's healthy, I don't think it's really much of an issue. Texas is not very good in men's basketball. Women's basketball, they whooped Kentucky the other day.
I did see that.
We don't have to talk about that. But
No,
men's
of course
basketball, we should be able to return the favor.
Michigan State and Illinois play each other 8 p.m. on Fox. That's an interesting slot for a Big Ten matchup. And then Kansas and Utah. That's not really that big of a game. But we mentioned, before we go to the 2-minute warning, Creighton and St. John's play each other on Sunday. That is at 3 p.m. Well, come on, there we go. 3 p.m. on FS1. It should be a really great Sunday matchup. And we got a lot of games throughout the week, but we got to get to our 2-minute warning. So, Josh, take it away.
Absolutely. We'll get through this very quickly. Only 3 simple questions. Basically talking the sports we've already talked, but some headlines. So there's been a lot of trade rumors already this offseason.
Yep.
So who will be the first big-name talent traded in this offseason in the NFL? Alex, I know your hope is Trevor Lawrence. However, who do you think it will be?
I think it'll be Myles Garrett. I hope to the Lions, but it's probably not going to be the Lions.
Colton?
If we're talking first, give me Cooper Kupp. That's the one where the team is looking to get rid of him, so I think they'll get rid of him quickly.
Garrett, you got to take?
Yeah, I agree with Colton. I think it'll be Cooper Kupp. I think teams will look to add a former Triple Crown winner, and then he's the guy that the Rams have targeted as a trade option.
I wholeheartedly agree. So we're all going Cooper Kupp. Outside you. Good job saving the graphic. Who is currently your NBA Finals as we reach All-Star Game weekend?
Alex.
Boston and Oklahoma City. I would say I want to go Cleveland so bad, but they do have to prove it before I can do that. And Boston has proved it, so I'm going Boston and OKC.
Garrett, can you name 2 teams in the NBA?
The Grizzlies will get it done. And let's see the Cavs. Let's see Cavs Grizz.
I was waiting for him to pick 2 Western Conference teams. Give me the Celtics and give me the Nuggets to figure it out in the playoffs. And I think that West can really go any way. And I think the East, there is some competition for the the Celtics, but we said that in the LeBron era, and that never happened. So
For me, it's Knicks and Nuggets, as you mentioned. Something about Joker, man. He's starting to heat up, and he's just knocking down threes
And
from
Jamal
I was
outside.
gonna say, not to mention Jamal having 55 the other
I
night.
know you don't like Kentucky guys, but Jamal Murray is absolutely flamethrowing
Absolutely.
right
I was about to add that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Just take
Well, I
words out of my
didn't
mouth.
give you time.
And last but not least, what mid-major has your eye for a potential run in March? Not named Gonzaga. Do not cheat and use Gonzaga.
I wouldn't even cheat and use Gonzaga. Give me VCU, baby. They are back. They are back, and it's beautiful. College basketball is better when there's VCU. I don't know why I'm so happy because they beat Purdue in the year that we were supposed to win it all. But I just love seeing. I need Wichita State back now. Let's get them both back.
True.
And winning in the American. Yeah, VCU back. Well, VCU's not in the American, but you get my point.
Okay. Garrett, do you have any take on a mid-major?
Yeah, random. He said Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah, there you go.
was-
Actually, that works.
That was your preemptive pick, and that's not a bad pick.
Alex?
Does Memphis count?
They can count if you want. that is the best answer, by the way.
That's what I was going to go
That
with.
is
Yeah.
the best answer.
My answer, avoiding Memphis, was going to be NFL form last year, but I'm liking what Patino's doing at New Mexico and that defense that they play.
I was like,
give me
St.
New
John's, my
Mexico.
favorite mid-major, and then I remembered.
No, New Mexico.
But yeah, so that's all we got for today's episode of the North Bench Warmers podcast. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy. Share it around, and follow us on Twitter or X at NorseBWPod. And thank you, NKU Media Services, Bill, Farrell, all that you do making this show better each and every week. Thank you, Garrett, for your hard work in the director's chair. I know that new segment wasn't easy, but I think you did a great job over there. It certainly worked, and excited to see where that goes. Thank you, Alex and Josh, for coming on the show. Alex, I know you're a busy man. You've been interviewing some notable
Little bit,
figures
yeah.
here recently, so thanks for giving us your time. And lastly, I want to plug the Slide Job podcast. It's going to be Ben coming back, Ben Miller. Me and Josh will all be talking about some NASCAR, so be sure to tune into that. That'll actually be on the Left Turn Central channel. I'll link that in the description if I remember to. But yeah, post editing, Colton, you remember that. But anyways, that's all we got. We'll see you all in the next one. Peace.